And we are rolling. She stands before you managing attention, making sure everybody has their phones and computers away. She's communicating respect non-verbally. She's in the power stance. She's finding friendly eyes near the front and center. Say your name, feel the love. Start your speech.
Hi guys, I'm Devin.
Hi Devin.
Famous poet Robert Frost once said, "In 3 words, I can sum up life. Everything I've learned about life." It goes on. So today I'd like to share with you a film that really moved me called It's Complicated. And I know this is a film that's primarily targeted towards middle-aged women, but I found that there were a lot of parts that were really relatable to me. It made me feel melancholy, it made me feel hopeful, and it made me feel happy. There are many significant themes that are throughout this film, and I know you'll be interested in hearing about them because whether you're from the perfect family that I really don't think exists, or whether you've had to endure trials and tribulations amongst your family, I think we can all agree that family life is complicated, to say the very least. The idea of family and unorthodox love are the primary themes that run throughout this film. So the first way this film moved me was it made me feel melancholy. And the scene that made me feel melancholy is when Meryl Streep's character is newly divorced. And she decides to go out on her first date with Steve Martin's character. And they spend the entire night together and enjoying each other's company. And this really hit home for me because my parents are divorced. And I vividly remember the first time my mom went out on her first date. And she was getting ready, and I was ensuring her, like, this is the right thing for you to do. You should be getting out there and meeting new people. And all I remember was feeling totally heartbroken. And once the guy came to the door, I ran into my room and burst into tears. And it's a hard pill to swallow, you know, when your parents get divorced and they're meeting new people. And it was just difficult. So this is the scene that made me feel melancholy. The second time that this film moved me, it made me feel hopeful. And the scene that made me feel hopeful was when Meryl Streep's character and Alec Baldwin's character, who's her ex-husband, are dancing together at their daughter's wedding reception. And they're having the greatest time, and they're laughing together, and you can see the chemistry. It's totally tangible. And this reminded me of the time when my mother, father, and I were at my cousin's wedding, and my father somehow convinced my mom to dance with him. And so I watched them from afar, and they were having so much fun together, and it just reminded me of old times. And instantly that spark of hope was like, maybe they'll get back together. When are they going to get back together? What does this mean? What's happening? And that's all you can really do when your parents are separated, is hope that one day they'll reunite. So that's the scene that made me feel hopeful. Now, the third time this film moved me, and it made me feel happy. And the scene that made me feel happy was when Meryl Streep's kids, who are in their late 20s, are all cuddled up together in their mother's bed, and they pester her with questions, asking, "What's going on between you and our dad? Are you guys getting back together? What's going on? We don't understand." And this made me feel happy because it reminded me of all those times that I asked my parents, "What's going on between you two? Are you guys going to get back together? I don't understand." And these were the questions that they typically avoided as often as they could. But I remember one time they came together and explained to me that they loved each other, and they were a great team, they worked really well together, and this didn't mean that they were going to be spending any less time together. It just meant they were better off as friends, and they were happier as friends. And this is when I understood that if they were happier off as friends, then I should be happy with this arrangement as well. So, in summary, I've told you about how this film moved me in 3 ways. It made me feel melancholy, it made me feel hopeful, and it made me feel happy. And there should be no doubt that this film really moved me. And in conclusion, like I said at the beginning, Robert Frost really perfectly summarized what he learned about life. It goes on, and sometimes in order to move forward, you have to let go of what's uncomfortable. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's start in the rear. Yes, please.
Hi, my name's Gabe.
Hi, Gabe.
I really liked your speech. I thought, connecting with you on a personal level was pretty cool. and cool power stance.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Gabe. Improvement?
Hi, Becky.
Hi, Becky.
I also really liked your speech. I can tell that it was really authentic and I could really connect to you because you're emotional. As for improvements, I would say that you moved your hands here quite a bit throughout the speech, so at first it kind of stiff. It was a little bit distracting. So.
Okay. Something to watch tonight on YouTube. Let me give you some feedback, Devin, and let's give Devin a hand for going first and breaking the ice. Oh, that was good. Well, you started with Robert Frost. As I said, you can never go wrong with Robert Frost. A good poet, and, people know him, and so that was good. Well, you chose the movie Complicated, and you told us that it made you feel melancholy, hopeful, and happy. One thing, and call out the time when it's done. What was the time?
It was 4:18.
4:18. Okay. So you want to be about between 4:30 and 5, and you want to use most of your time. You don't want to be up in the 4s, and you don't want to be at 5:30 or 6 or 7. I'll have to stop you. She said melancholy, hopeful, and happy. And that's a rhetorical decision. That's one of your first rhetorical decisions that you have to make. You've identified the emotions, and then you have to say, which comes first? Which comes second? Which comes third? And that's kind of tricky. Sometimes you want to start with the strongest and the second strongest last and bury the middle one in the middle. Sometimes there's just a logic to your emotion. Did you think about arranging them in any other way, or was this just come out that way?
I thought about it. I was trying to go like sad, then a little bit happier, and then
more happy.
Yeah.
So you put some thought into that. I'm glad. That's good. Your sixth statement was excellent, except for no movie review. On your main body, melancholy, I thought this was your strongest and your best communicated emotion. I really could feel your sadness and heartbreak that your mother was going out with a married masher and trying to take the place of your father and all that stuff, and all those millions of thoughts that were running through your head, and you were feeling it again, and I felt it, and that was good. That was the assignment, so that was good. I wanted to remind you, you're a little stiff, up there, and so if you could move 3 times, remember to move 3 times. Next time I'll prompt you, I'll just say. And practice, when you practice aloud with a live person, move in practice, because you won't remember to do it in the real performance if you don't do it in practice. On your second emotion, hopeful. Yeah, we've all had those sorts of looking across the room and seeing your mother and dad dance together and saying, maybe this is it. And so that was good, and that was well communicated, and it was a good word picture, just enough detail to make the story be real, and so that was excellent. On your third emotion, happy, and you talked about them cuddling in the bed. And by the way, I want to point out, I thought that some people give too long of a plot summary. And I thought Devin's plot summaries were just about the right length, 1 or 2 sentences. You don't need a big long thing about, who shot whom and when and how it comes out. It's not necessary. So they were cuddling in bed, as you put it. And then you explained that your parents told you that this isn't going to happen, that we're better off friends, and you should take a chill pill and get over it and move on, and we've moved on. And, I know that's tough, though, because you're looking for happy ever afters. I'm sure your mother and father were, too, when they first went into this, as everyone does, unless you're just super cynical. Your summary was good. Conclusion was good, and your tie back was perfect. I like the way that you didn't just quote Robert Frost again, but that you had another sentence after the Robert Frost that worked well. Your canage, your constant and never-ending improvement. You said have a better tie back. I think you did. Try to make better eye contact with the audience, and don't exceed the 5-minute length. How'd the eye contact go?
I was trying to look around more. I think I did a good job of it.
I think so.
Hazy, was she looking at you?
Yeah.
Don't lie. Okay. Okay, you did a nice job, Devin. Thank you. Okay. That will bring us to Ava. Ava Maria. Oh, wait, I need... Where's my folder?
Oh, I did this self-evaluation.
You got the wrong one. That's okay. You saw the one I gave out today, right?
Yeah.
And it's on the website now. I yelled at the webmaster.
I also switched the order, so if it
Yeah,
is confusing.
I'll figure it out. Thank you. Everyone's turned in their TED Talk. Just a second. Ava. Okay, she stands before you managing attention. They're talking. She's communicating respect non-verbally, saying to herself, I respect my audience. Finding friendly eyes near the front of the center, and feel the love. Start your speech.
Hi, my name is Ava.
Hi, Ava.
On my first day of public school, which was in second grade, the principal came over the loudspeaker and said, please stand, put your right hand over your heart, ready, begin. I had never in my life heard the Pledge of Allegiance. So as my fellow students were looking at the American flag, and it seemed that they were just talking to a flag, I stood there quietly and looked on. The confusion and sense of alienness that I felt in that moment was something that the main character of the movie, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, Tula, felt throughout her life. Today, I want to share with you a movie that really moved me, My Big Fat Greek Wedding. I know you will enjoy hearing about this movie because it deals with some significant themes of alienness, of not fitting in, and of being in a situation where you're in culture shock. This movie made me feel awkward, it made me feel frustrated, and lastly, it made me feel happy. The first way this movie made me feel was awkward. In the movie, Tula ends up dating someone who is not Greek. She goes to her soon-to-be in-laws' house for dinner, and this dinner is filled with quiet moments, awkwardness, and her in-laws don't know anything about Greek culture, and they proceed to ask her, is Armenia in Greece? This incident reminded me of a time when I was invited to my American friend's house for Christmas dinner. Now, I'm an Iranian American, and I'm also Jewish, and my friend is the typical American. I go to his house, and we sit at the table. There is one chicken breast per person, which was very strange to me because in Persian culture, there's just food everywhere. And they proceed to bombard me with a bunch of strange questions, such as, is Iran in Israel? Do I speak Yiddish? And is Persian the same as Iranian? Which it is. When this happened, though I felt uncomfortable, I also felt amused. I enjoy telling people about my culture, and this was very similar to Tula's experience. The second way this movie made me feel was frustrated. In the movie, as soon as Tula's parents find out that she is dating someone who isn't Greek, they immediately tell her to break up with him. This incident reminded me of a situation in my life where in high school I dated someone who wasn't Persian. Now, my parents proceeded to almost have an FBI investigation of this person. They asked me what his GPA was, where his parents were from, what his parents did, what his plans were for the future, and what our plans were for the future. When this happened, I felt very frustrated that they were judging someone based off of their culture, and this was very similar to Tula's experience with her non-Greek boyfriend. The third way this movie made me feel was happy. In the movie, Tula's in-laws are invited to her house for what they thought was going to be a quiet dinner. Instead, they pull up to the house and they see Tula's entire extended family, a lamb roasting on a spit in the front yard, and a bunch of cousins all with the same names, Nick and Nikki. This incident reminded me of the time when I invited my American friends over for Passover dinner. If some of you don't know, Passover is a Jewish holiday where we celebrate our leaving of Egypt and our escape from slavery. Now, typically, it's a very organized type of dinner. In Persian tradition, it is not very organized. It's filled with cousins and food being thrown everywhere, and there is a place in the night where Persians like to relive the physical experience of slavery. So we go around hitting each other with green onions. My friends, as soon as they saw my grandma hitting my uncle with a green onion and my cousins flinging green onions at each other across the room, were at first very startled. They didn't know what was happening. But eventually they really warmed up to it, and it made me feel happy that they were taking part in my culture. In summary, I have told you 3 ways that this movie moved me. It made me feel awkward, it made me feel frustrated, and lastly, it made me feel happy. So the awkwardness I felt in 2nd grade when I didn't know what was going on was the same type of awkwardness that Tula felt throughout her life. But I feel like both of us approached these situations in a humorous and quirky way. Thank you.
Hello, my name is John.
Hi, John.
I really enjoyed your first story about Christmas dinner and how you framed the family as being like, they're more curious rather than judging, which I really like.
Improvement?
Hi everyone, I'm Katya.
Hi, Katya.
And that was something I liked. It was really interesting, and you had a variety of stories, funny and awkward. But something you might want to improve is moving a little bit, because you seem a little stiff. That was it.
Yes. I've been telling everybody, and I'll just keep telling everybody till people start moving. So, did you think to move, or
I honestly was so focused on talking that
getting
I
it
felt
done,
if
yeah.
I moved, I would be distracted. So.
Also, when you noticed on the prompt that I gave you, can I borrow yours for a minute? Thanks. On the back, at the bottom it says CANI. Do y'all know what CANI stands for? Constant never-ending improvement. It has a list of 3 goals, your speech goals. And so even though you type up an outline like you did here, which is nice, you should add your speech goals. What were your goals?
Eye contact, not using filler words, and being more fluid.
Okay. Good. Let me give you some feedback. Ava. You started with a story, 2nd grade, and the Pledge of Allegiance, which must have been bizarre to you, and you stood there silently. I'm surprised some of the kids didn't start hitting you or something for being a communist or something. Just kidding. But you returned to that story in the end, so it showed me you understood the concept of the tieback, so that was good. And the story was compelling. I can just see this little immigrant going, what are these people doing? Why are they saluting a flag? Yeah. On your thesis preview, it was fine. I'm glad. One thing that happened was she changed the order that she typed it in, which tells me you were still revising up until the time you spoke. I like that. That's a good editing. That's good thinking. I think it would be better in a different order. I like that. That was good. Your sixth statement was good. Little long, but good. Well, two things that I think will help you be a more effective speaker. One, to vary the pace. At times it was a little ponderous, so pick it up faster at times, slow it down at times, and fill the room more with your energy. A little bit louder at times, softer at times. Let's talk about, though, the crux of the assignment, which was to communicate strong emotions. Let's go first with the emotion of being awkward. You talked about going to was it a Christmas dinner?
Yeah.
And you got to have one chicken breast per person. And they ask you crazy questions, as and I think they were innocent questions.
Yeah.
They weren't like all foreigners are Jewish or whatever. It's just they didn't know, and so I got your awkwardness, so that was good. Now, one thing I want to repeat to all of you is it will help you, and you can write this in on your little outline. If you come back to the emotion at the end of your story, and you say, and all those questions and pestering is the reason I felt really awkward. So come back to awkward in the end. See? So there's no question what emotion you're communicating. Okay? And you're re-feeling that. See? On your second emotion, which was not happy but frustrated, here I think you told us of dating a goyim, as they would say in your culture. And they ask all kinds of questions about his family and his GPA and so forth, and his DNA, I suppose, as parents are likely to do, right? What I think would have made this story more compelling is if you felt you didn't want to give his name, make up a name like Billy or whatever. I was dating a non-Persian, non-Jewish boy named Billy or whatever. And give us more of a story. We fell in love. We liked each other. We were dating. It was great. And my parents stepped in and started giving me the third degree. And oh my God, I couldn't believe it. It was just an innocent friendship and romance. And see, so make it more into a story with more sharp edges and more tension between people, because otherwise, it was when you watch yourself tonight on YouTube. Oh, I'm cutting your head off. Sorry. You step forward. Okay. There you go. Step back. Step back. Not forward. Stay in the green box. That's the rule. Sorry. When you see this, you're going to see your frustrated emotion wasn't your strongest.
Yeah, that's why I decided to
put it in the middle. Yeah. But it could have been stronger, and I gave you some ways to do it. On your final emotion of happy, you described Passover dinner and having a friend over for Passover dinner, and I suppose you maybe didn't warn them that you were going to be having a food fight and all this stuff, and having the ritual that is Passover. And it can be a very beautiful thing for people that don't know the culture and don't know the history. And, history will repeat itself if you don't remember it. And I think it's good to remember that. So I think that needs to be communicated as part of it, too. So what I wanted you to do was more to come back with, and I was just really happy seeing my friends see us be ourselves and celebrate our traditions, see? And just let more of your happiness show, the emotion that you remembered having when you were happy with your friend there at the Passover dinner, okay? Summary, good. Conclusion, tie back to The second grade Pledge of Allegiance, fine. Eye contact, let's ask the group. Non-fillers, and you're pretty fluid. How was the eye contact? Thumbs up? Yeah. So you want to look to the edges, to the back. Did a nice job. Thank you. Ava.
Time is 5:04, Professor.
5:04?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, that will bring us to Dion Turner. What a tragedy. Okay, where's my pen? Okay, that'll bring us to Nathan. Nathan. Hi, Nathan. Ooh.
That's an awkward intro.
Do you have a case for that?
Invisible shield.
What?
An invisible shield.
That's what?
An invisible shield. It's like a
Oh,
screen
good.
protector.
Is that an Apple phone? Oh. Oh, you didn't put your name on this. You don't have a typewriter, huh?
I just wanted to use
I
it.
found that typing this out helps people learn it, and you come up with new ideas when you do more than just write it out on this form. Okay, stands before you. Your call. So I'm going to have to adjust the camera and move back. Wow. Do something like that, yeah. Okay, Nathan stands before you, managing attention, communicating respect non-verbally, saying to himself, I respect my audience. Finding friendly eyes near the front of the sunshine, your name, feel love. Start your speech.
Hi guys, I'm Nathan.
Hi, Nathan.
Introduction to the film's context. It's October 12th, 1985. Nixon was just elected for his fourth term as president, and American-Soviet tensions are on the brink of bringing about worldwide annihilation via nuclear war. And American society is like nearly in anarchy, and the Watchmen, which is the name of the film, are being outlawed, disbanded, murdered off, killed off one by one. And an opening scene follows that. The 67-year-old retired superhero known as the Comedian, he is watching the classic film in his high-rise condo, and he's surprised by an assassin who kicks down his door, and he's then given the beating of his lifetime before being defenestrated from the window. And for those of you who don't know, defenestrated means literally being thrown from a window. And yeah, that marks the beginning of killing off each of the Watchmen. And this film, given such a special context, it really gave me three significant emotions. It made me excited, it made me intrigued, and it also made me question the existence of evil. Get some existential analysis on that. And I want to just tell you that you guys will enjoy watching this film if you do, because there's some key themes in it. Like I said, there's heroism, there's world annihilation, there's existential analysis. And Richard Collis did a review on this, and he said that this film is a combination of bits and pieces. He said, but oh, those beautiful pieces and oh, those wonderful bits. And I really agree with that, because this film really moved me. So, first of all, it made me feel excited. It is a superhero film, but it's not cheesy. It's actually very meaningful. And but because it is a superhero film, there is a lot of action, a lot of fighting scenes, explosions, whatnot, and it's really exciting. Gets your adrenaline pumping, and it reminds reminds me, like, the closest thing I ever had to that, you know, fighting or stuff like that is wrestling. You know, I'm a wrestler. And, you know, the adrenaline rush of when, you know, you're on the mat looking into the eyes of your opponent, getting ready to, you know, hopefully throw them and hip toss them or whatever. That's about the closest thing I've ever had to that type of action. And that reminded me of that sense of adrenaline rush and stuff like that. And it was exciting. The second emotion that the movie made me feel was intrigued, because Ozymandias is the character, and he ends up being the villain in the film. And he says that the source of war is the fear of not having enough. And if you can create an infinite energy source or an infinite source of anything, then you make war obsolete. And it really made me think, you know, about like when I was learning economics and stuff, because economics is like the science of like how to efficiently use scarce resources. And I thought, you know what, it's true, you know, like why do we have wars? Why do we compete for jobs? Why do we compete in college, you know? It's because we're afraid of what we might not have, you know, not afraid of what we did or what, you know, what's in the future. We're just afraid of not having stuff, you know, because things are scarce and not unlimited. And it rang kind of true that if you could make something unlimited, there wouldn't be a need for war. And that really made me intrigued about that thought. The third emotion that this made me feel, well, it made me question the existence of evil, basically. Ozymandias, he tries to, he ends up being the bad guy, but he looks like a good guy the entire time. He tries to kill off everyone. It ends up being him the whole time. He used to be one of the Watchmen, and he ends up trying to kill off all the others. And the reason is, he wants to get rid of evil in the world. He wants, because America and the EU and the Soviet Union are on the brink of nuclear war, he figures, you know, the world's doomed anyway. So like we're going to destroy each other and kill each other off, but I can save it. So he works with Dr. Manhattan, is another character who's like a god on Earth who can just manipulate matter and everything basically. And he uses his powers to potentially create an infinite energy source. But all the while, his true intention is to create a weapon that can destroy the world or possibly America or whatever. So in the end, he destroys New York City. He destroys the entire East Coast of America. And he does this to save the world. Because he figured if we join forces like in a common enemy against Dr. Manhattan, who was framed for it, since his powers were used to destroy the East Coast, then the U.S. and the Soviet Union, they would join together because they figured, you know, we're not destroying each other, this guy is. And after that, the U.S. and Soviet Union, they joined forces, and there was world peace throughout the entire globe. And it really made me think that his motive to save the world was to destroy us. And it really made me think, like, if saving the world is destroying us, you know, to get rid of evil, you know, like, it really proves that we are the source of evil, you know. And it made me, how that related to me was that when, not to get too religious on you guys again, but when I was becoming a Christian, I really started questioning, you know, like, why is there evil? You know, why does it exist? Why does God allow evil to happen? You know, it's actually a really big controversial topic that religious theologians are still arguing to this day. And it really made me think, you know, if, like, people always wish for a perfect world, you know, why doesn't God just, like, turn bullets into butterflies as soon as they're ejected from the barrel of a gun? Or why doesn't God just stop us from doing evil things? And why doesn't he just make the world perfect? And we must realize that in order to make the world perfect, wishing for that would be wishing ourselves out of existence, because we are the source of evil. And this movie really made me think about that, you know, and with his motive, with the villain's motive to destroy us in order to save the world, you know, it's possibly kind of true in some sense, some twisted sense, I guess. So yeah, I told you guys how the film Watchmen moved me and made me feel excited, made me feel intrigued, and it also made me do some existential analysis on the existence of evil. And I have no doubt that you guys will be moved if you watch this film as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi. Huh? Hi, Hazy.
I really liked your speech and I really liked your introduction because it really gave us like a vivid image of what the movie is like. And like all the emotions that you talked about, I could really feel that you had a lot of thought into it and like it made you think a lot about like the world, and it was really deep and like philosophical. I liked it.
Thank you, Hazy.
I think.
With your name.
Oh, sorry, I'm Aaron.
Hi, Aaron.
I think generally your sort of laid back way of talking is nice and sort of inviting, and it helps us feel like comfortable with whatever you're talking about. I think in this sense you might have like gone a little bit off the planned route and just like sort of like kept on going with your description of what was going on, which sort of went over time and made things carry on a little bit too long. But otherwise, I liked your attitude.
What was the time?
7:31.
7:31? Wow.
I know.
Were you getting time signals? Yeah. Did you time this ahead of time? Did you time this ahead of time?
No, I did not.
Yeah, you should all time this ahead of time so you know and you can edit. Let me give you some feedback, Nathan. Yikes. You started with an intro that was a long plot summary of what the movie was about. I'm not sure that was a great grabber, but that's what you did. And you sort of came back to that at the end, so you kind of understood the tie back. You said it made you feel excited, intrigued, and caused you to think about evil. I'm not sure that those were strong emotions that we were trying to work with. I'm not sure thinking is, going to get the kind of emotions we're experimenting with this speech exercise. Be that as it may, let me compliment you on your significance statement. One caveat, you quoted Richard Corliss from where?
He wrote an article, a review that I found during Nikki's, when she was teaching us about how to use the deep internet.
Yeah, in the New York Times and the New Yorker, and yeah. See, you want to give Richard Corliss credibility. See? So Richard Corliss said in the New York Times, he said this.
I just jotted it down right when you said it. I was like, oh,
well, that's good. I appreciate you, on the fly. That was good. And I like the way you agreed with the quote. That was excellent. And I too have seen movies where they're just outstanding pieces. The whole thing didn't quite fit together, but there were great little pieces. So it was a good quote. Now, let's go to the main body, and I'll say this to you as I've said to others. Move 3 times. It will help you relax, Nathan, and, it'll loosen you up. You said that it made you feel excited, and you talked, again, you gave quite a long plot summary, and that's where you lost your time. In every one of your 3 emotions, you talked too much about what was going on in the movie, and not enough about what was happening with you and your emotions. And here, we got a glimpse of some emotions. You shared with us that you used to be a wrestler, and that when you wrestled, this caused you to have adrenaline flow. I'm sure you had some good stories of when you won, you lost, when the adrenaline was flowing, but we didn't hear them. So we needed more time on your wrestling stories and less time on the plot summary. Okay? On your second emotion, intrigued, same suggestion, long plot summary, and really didn't get much of a story from you on emotion that you were really intrigued as an emotional story. And then finally on your third one, you finally opened up and said, yes, I'm a Christian and I've thought about this. And so that was pretty authentic. That was interesting that you shared that. That was good. You did watch this tonight when you watch YouTube. You do this. You know what that means? That you're feeling superior to your audience, and you don't want to steeple ever when you put your hands together like that. So I'd avoid that. Your summary, your conclusion, were fine. You had very little tie back. I needed a more vivid tie back to your introductory story. So after you say, there should be no doubt in this room, The Watchmen was an amazing movie that really moved me, and back to your original story. Your goal was to make good eye contact, to have good vocal variety, and not steeple. Ooh, interesting. So I guess we've talked about this before, huh? Your reaction to how it went?
I thought it was a bit all over the place because it was like just finishing up preparing it.
Uh-huh.
But I disagree with you respectfully on like the lack of emotional connection or personal connection with the stories.
Yeah.
Because I put some deep thought into that, not just it's not just like stuff on the surface.
No, I know it's not on the surface. I'm just looking for laugh,
specific
cry,
story.
and more gross emotions. I guess you gave more subtle emotions. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Did you just arrive in class? Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Did you turn in your, what was it?
TED Talk.
TED Talk?
No, I was absent the previous day.
Okay. You snooze, you lose. All right, let me call the next person. Let's hear from Gustavo de la Cruz. Okay, we lost Gustavo. Okay. Let's hear from Sabrina. Sabrina. Let's hear from Aaron. Hi, Aaron. How you doing? Good. Oh, you found the self-evaluation. Good.
Yeah.
Yes.
We already did the other self-evaluation. Do you want us to translate it?
No, that's fine. But from now on, yeah. Okay. Let me see. You're pretty tall, aren't you? You take a little half step back, and I'll step back, and step a little bit that way. Yeah. Okay. Aaron stands before you, managing attention, communicating respect non-verbally, finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name. Feel the love. Start your speech.
All right, hi guys, I'm Aaron.
Hi, Aaron.
So Ferris Bueller is a recognizable badass. He's confident, he's independent, he does what he wants to do. He's somebody who we can all sort of look up to in a way. We don't necessarily want to be Ferris, but he personifies things that we might strive for. So when I first saw Ferris Bueller's Day Off when I was 8 years old, I thought this is awesome. This is such a cool movie. And as I got older, I watched it every couple of years. It's a classic. And even now, I still look at the movie and have an appreciation for it. Maybe not the same way I did when I was 8 years old, but I still do. So I'm going to share with you guys this film today, and it made me feel frustrated, it made me feel sympathetic, and lastly, it made me laugh. I think you guys are all going to be interested in the movie because as young adults, or adolescents, as we are right now, the film really grabs my attention because it brings to front all of these sort of negatives of adolescence, whether that's anxiety, indecision, all these other things that we have to deal with, and sort of presents them in a way that makes them a little bit more understandable and a little bit more relatable. So the first way this film affected me was that it made me frustrated. So at the beginning of the movie, to start his day of gallivanting through the streets of Chicago, Ferris convinces his best friend Cameron to let him borrow his dad's Ferrari. Cameron does not want to do this. Why would he give such a responsible guy like Ferris this awesome car that his dad loves so much, possibly even more than Cameron himself? But Ferris convinces him it's a good idea and that it's an essential part of their plan. So Cameron relents and he lets him take the car. We learn later in the film the car gets totaled. So the way this related to me was, so back when I was in elementary school and then partially through middle school, my family used to rent this little beach house in this little town called Fire Island off the coast of Long Island. We would just stay there during the summers. We rented the house from a friend of ours, and we had this whole little community of other families that came out there with kids around my age, and we had this little clique of kids who would hang out every day. And one day we had the idea that we were going to make a movie about ourselves, because we were so important, this little group of 9-year-olds and all of us, that we wanted to make a film about ourselves. And my dad was a graphic designer, so he had all these nice art supplies, including a really nice camera, which was obviously the camera of choice to make a movie. I was reluctant at first, but you know, you're a group of 5, 10-year-olds, and what are you going to say to your friends when they want to use your dad's camera? I said yes. Within an hour, I dropped the camera. All the crevices were full of sand. I couldn't turn it on. It didn't work. The movie was over, and I hid the camera. My dad never found out about the camera. He was convinced that we lost it. To this day, the camera's in the back of my closet, and he still has no clue. So unlike Cameron, I did not come clean about ruining my dad's property, but it still made me frustrated that, you know, both of us in these situations wouldn't necessarily have made these choices without the prompting of our friends. So secondly, the movie made me feel sympathetic. So at the end of the movie, we learn that that Ferris's best friend Cameron is jealous of Ferris's relationship with his girlfriend Sloane. They had this awesome relationship. She's this beautiful girl. He's this badass dude, and Cameron is a bit sort of the sidekick in the situation. And we learn that he's frustrated partially because he hasn't gotten attention from home, but also because he looks at their relationship as something that he wants to achieve, but can't necessarily. So in high school, I dated a girl starting in junior year. I didn't know her very well, but during that Christmas break, I decided I was going to ask her out or whatever, and we went out to dinner. A couple weeks later, things went well. We were dating, and I met her best friend Brian. So Brian was this sleek guy. He was the valedictorian of my class. He was the first pianist of the Juilliard pre-college orchestra. He's this super impressive guy. Brian's like a superhero. But in his busy life, he doesn't really have time to make a lot of friendships, a lot of relationships and stuff like that. But my girlfriend, let's call her Rachel because her name is sort of hard to pronounce, was super close with Brian. They were really good friends. At first, that's what I thought, and then I realized that Brian was also interested in her in a way beyond friends. But because I was there, that would never be fulfilled. This is sort of a suspicion I had, but it wasn't something that I could confirm. And then towards the end of senior year, I went to a party, and Brian and I lived in the same neighborhood, so we took the subway home, and Brian was pretty trashed, and actually told me this on the subway on the way home. I had no idea how to react, but it was crazy to me that he was actually in his state, which he didn't remember it afterwards, was telling me these feelings he had. So I felt sympathetic to Brian. Lastly, the movie made me laugh. In one scene, Ferris, he gets into this nice restaurant to eat lunch, with his friends, and he convinces them that he's this big shot in Chicago, the hot dog king of Chicago. And they let him in, they let him eat because he's this celebrity. I once went to a concert with some friends of mine, and the guy who was playing was this DJ who I actually knew was about our age. He was only 17, I was 17 at the time. We didn't have tickets. We had no tickets for the show, we hadn't thought about things beforehand. So I went up to the window and I said, I'm pretty sure I have 3 tickets waiting for me. The guy at the window was really confused. He said, what do you mean you have 3 tickets for you? And I said, my friend Marcel, he's playing. He left us 3 tickets. And in fact, I had done my research. So the DJ's first name was Marcel. I told him the whole story. I was from Chicago, like the DJ was. I went to high school with him, and I was convinced that I had 3 tickets waiting for me because we were really close friends. So why wouldn't I? Long story short, he gave me the tickets, he believed it, I faked a couple phone calls, I made a couple fake text messages, everything worked out great, and I got the tickets and I saw the show. So bringing everything back, the reason I like this movie was because it made me feel frustrated, it made me feel sympathetic, and it made me laugh. 3 emotions that are all very different, but had a really big effect on me. And I think what I like so much about the movie is that it uses these funny stories to bring to front these important emotions and stuff that we deal with as teenagers and adolescents. We're not all going to be the badass that Ferris Bueller is, despite the fact that we might want to be. But at the same time, we can also connect with other characters in movies, like Cameron, who's sort of frustrated with the situation he puts himself in. And I think it gives us a lot to think about. Thank you.
Somewhere over here, yeah.
Hi, I'm Charlie.
Hi, Charlie.
I really like your stories, and like I could totally see how you could link that to Cameron's experience, because we've all had those moments when, as a child, like we break something with our parents and we have that moment of panic. So I really like your story. So this goes.
Good, you could identify with them, huh? Let's go here.
Hi, I'm Devin.
Hi, Devin.
I loved your speech. I thought your stories were hilarious and really entertaining. The only thing, I think you used a lot of uhs and ums, and sometimes you were going so fast, I was like, okay, well, I don't. That's it.
Thank you. Yes. Let's start with that, Aaron. I'd like to see you build in some pauses, because you're going a mile a minute. What was this time?
6:16.
6:16. So even at that pace, you still went over.
Yeah.
And the place that I think that you can edit is your first story about the camera and down at the seashore in Long Island or wherever it was, and the story about the guy with the crush on your girlfriend. Shorten those a little bit, and you would have had plenty of time. Well, let's go through from the top. Here's the big point I want to make to you. When you're communicating emotions, it's a delicate thing, and sometimes when you're going a mile a minute, you don't give them a chance to sink in. And so I'm just getting into the fact that you're feeling very frustrated that you've screwed up your father's camera, and I'm sort of feeling the frustration. And all of a sudden, I'm into a story about being sympathetic, and this guy from Juilliard's trying to put the make on your girlfriend. I'm going, wow, what happened to frustrated? You were just moving. So work on that, varying the pace and that sort of thing. So that's big picture about that. Your introduction, how would you classify it? I counsel people to start with a poem, a quote, a story, a joke, anything. What would you classify, or a rhetorical question, what would you call your introduction?
I don't know. I mean, I was just trying to use the sort of recognizability of the character.
The movie.
Yeah.
And just sort of identify with that.
Yeah.
And you tied back to whatever you did. I just didn't know how to classify it. You sort of talked about the movie and talked about we all went through adolescence, and so I guess you were trying to sort of make an identification with your audience. Next time, try a poem, a story, a quote. Let's hear some Robert Frost from you. I'm just kidding. But on your thesis, it was fine. Your SIG statement was very good. Didn't have a film quote, but I understand that. On the main body, the story about the Ferrari, a little bit long in the plot summary. You're going to the beach and losing and screwing up your dad's camera and hiding it in the back of your closet, and to this day never coming clean. Really interesting revelation about that, and I think all of us have done something like that. And you just can't bring yourself to confront the fact that you. I had a similar. My father loaned me a ring that I lost, and I just he kept asking me for it back. And it was from his grandfather and all this stuff. It was scary. So on sympathetic, it was pretty brief plot summary there for that. Quite a little bit long. We could have gotten to the subway where he, in his drunken state, confessed that he had the screaming scorchies for your girlfriend, and you suddenly, had sympathy for, his unrequited love and that sort of thing. That was a pretty good story, so I liked that, and I liked the fact that. Well, how do you say her name? Shuyi? Is that her name? Shuyi. Yeah. So I like the fact that you made her Rachel. That was. Easier for everyone. That was good. On the third story of you being a con man and a slick talker, it gave me a laugh. So you did communicate that emotion well, and relive it and say something like, to this day, I still laugh about how I pulled that off.
I wanted to make that one longer, but I realized I had like 30 seconds. But
Yeah.
it was just...
Okay. Summary conclusion, and as I said, your tie back, I just didn't know what to do with it. Your goals were to speak slowly.
I tried at the beginning, but then I ran out of time.
Not to have any fillers, and to stay focused. I don't know, what does that mean, stay focused?
Well, the first speech, I forgot what I was supposed to talk about completely, so I tried to remember.
Okay, well, you did a pretty good job, except going over time, and you'll do better next time. Thank you. Okay, that will bring us to... That was Nathan, okay. That will bring us to... Emily. Hi, Emily.
Hi, I forgot to do the other one.
What a tragedy. Okay. I think we can get you in on this battery. I usually get an hour 10 on a battery. We're at 58, so let's see how it goes. Okay, she's managing. Wait a minute, let me get you. Could you move that way a step? Yeah, thanks. She's managing attention. He's reading. Communicating respect non-verbally. Finding friendly eyes to the front row center. Say your name. Feel the love. Start your speech.
Hi, I'm Emily.
Hi, Emily.
So Walt Whitman once wrote, "But the powerful play goes on, and you may contribute a verse." Now picture that in Robin Williams' voice, with the quiet reverie, with full of wonder. Just picture that. He was able to capture imaginations. He was able to bring you into his world no matter what character he was playing. That's why today I'm going to share with you a film, one of his films, Dead Poet Society. This film made me feel exhilarated. It made me feel heartsick. And finally, somehow it made me feel happy. I really think that you all will enjoy hearing about this film because it holds some really significant themes. It holds the theme of carpe diem, which means seizing the day. It also holds the theme of believing in oneself. And for all of us as college students, those are two themes that are very important for us to think about. We have our entire future ahead of us, and it's important for us to take whatever we can as quick as we can before we go out into the real world, but also to remember to stay true to ourselves.
Good.
So I'm going to tell you about the first emotion that I felt while watching this film. The first emotion I felt was exhilaration. This was when Professor Keating was explaining to his class the importance of word and poetry, how they can change the world, how it's what we stay alive for as a human race. This reminds me of a time in my English class. It was coincidentally around the first time I actually saw this film, and it was my wonderful English teacher who really got me to fall in love with books again. Now, I had always been in love with books, but as life went on, it just got harder and harder to just sit down and take the time to read. But now I was reading The Great Gatsby. I was reading The Things They Carried. I read the Harry Potter series for the 7th time. I read Catcher in the Rye 5 times in 2 weeks, which is my favorite novel, just so you all know.
Great.
And I basically felt like I read my entire bookshelf. And it was through this experience that I really connected with what Robin Williams' character of Professor Keating was trying to convey to his students. That I really felt like I was living every day as an adventure, a literary adventure. I was no longer just a 16-year-old student doing, getting through each day, doing my homework. Each day was a brand new adventure, and I really do believe that books and words can change the world. Now, I do have to say that this film also made me feel heartsick. So it made me feel heartsick when one of the main characters, Neil Perry, committed suicide, due in large part to the overbearingness of his father. This affected me because there was a classmate in my school that committed suicide. He was a year younger than me, but we had been in all the same classes because he was pretty much a genius. And I didn't really know him that well, but I knew he was kind, he was outgoing, and he was great in a group project. He would always contribute he would always contribute his fair share. So I went to college, and I got a call last year from my 14-year-old sister that after 5 days of him being missing, they found his body. and it was like a punch in the stomach because, again, I didn't know him that well, but it's just the feeling of, could I have done something? Could I have said something? Could I have Facebooked him and asked him about his college options? Could I have said anything? That one Wednesday when I was crazy thinking about college applications, what if I had just said hi to him? And like the classmates and the very good friends of the character Neil Perry, it's just a really hard feeling of heart sickness when something like that happens. So that after watching that scene, I didn't think that the movie would get any better. However, luckily it did make me feel happy. Once again, the happy scene happened in the very end when Professor Keating, needing a scapegoat for the death of Neil Perry, he was blamed for the death and fired. And so he was collecting his belongings and walking out when all the students, one by one, stood up on their desks and said, "Oh, Captain, my Captain," mimicking something he had done in the very beginning, trying to teach them about poetry and words. Now, it made me feel very happy to watch this scene because when I was in my Spanish class junior year, my teacher, Mrs. McDowell, was new to the school. She had before been a kindergarten teacher. Everyone thought they could take advantage of her. It was a mess. So one day we were supposed to be doing group presentations, and a group of my friends plus 10 other students decided they weren't going to show up because, why? They didn't want to do the project. Why not? So they decided to skip class, but I went because I liked her. I had learned so much from her. I actually paid attention in class, and I thought she was great. So I showed up to class and did my group presentation by myself. I stood up there, made a mess of it because I was making up things on the spot, trying to figure out what the heck my partners were actually going to say also. But we all did it. One by one, the actual rest of the classmates, whether they had their group there or not, also did their presentation. And to see her light up like that, because she didn't think anyone was going to go, was such a good feeling. And it made me so happy because she really deserved our respect. I mean, she was a great person. So in summary, I've told you about how this movie has moved me. It has made me feel exhilarated, it has made me feel heartsick, and it has made me feel happy. And I really don't think there's any doubt in this room that it has moved me in this way. Now, on August 11, 2014, the world lost Robin Williams. But throughout his characters in his movies, he forever will live in our hearts. I mean, he was Teddy Roosevelt, he was Mrs. Doubtfire, he was Peter Pan, he was the crazy mad scientist in Flubber. And through all this, I really think that we all can think about Walt Whitman's quote, "The powerful play goes on, and you may contribute a verse." And in Robin Williams' words, what will your verse be?
Thank you. Time?
5:45.
5:45. Thank you. Okay, we're over here. What'd you like?
Oh, okay. Hi everyone, I'm Nathan.
Hi, Nathan.
I loved how I really felt connected with the speech. Like you just felt really sincere and genuine, and your stories were like very captivating. Good job.
Improvement?
Hi, I'm Rachel.
Hi, Rachel.
I really liked your speech. I think you had like a great tie back, and I just felt really connected to each of your points. I think one thing you can improve maybe is it seemed a little bit like when you're talking, sometimes you take a deep breath, and I don't know if maybe it was just like a little bit of nerves or whatever, but maybe just like relaxing yourself a little bit and just going with it.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. Well, Emily, really good performance, except for being overtime. You need to work on word economy, and I hope you'll time your future speeches and do some editing. I want to first compliment you for moving and walking. I hope it relaxed you a little. There's no getting around Robin Williams committed suicide. He's sort of the elephant in the corner, and despite his amazing body of work that he left for us and the verses that he contributed to our planet, really, he still took his own life. And I'm glad that you sort of acknowledged that and put a good spin on it at the end. Your thesis preview was good. Your sixth statement was excellent. On your main body, you said exhilarated. And I really felt your exhilaration, and I love the way you listed all the books that you were reading and how your English teacher had inspired you to begin reading again. And I too read The Catcher in the Rye probably 10 times. I don't know why that book spoke to me, but it did. And just, you know, there was something in there. I just wanted to climb inside that story. And I liked the way that you returned to the emotion of exhilaration in the end, and so we knew exactly the emotion you were communicating. On Heartsick, this is where I thought you were going to come back to Robin Williams, but you didn't. But that was an integral part of the story. You talked about a classmate. I would have given his name or made up a name so that it seems personal, not just ex-classmate, but Frank or whatever. So he's a real person. And we all second guess ourselves. Could I have been kinder? Could I have asked her or him to come with us to do something? We all second guess that, and we all feel heartsick when someone doesn't have the courage to carry on, you know. And so I felt your heart sickness, and that was good. On your third emotion, happy, you told us a scene where they stood on the desk, and then you related to your Spanish class, and it was a little bit long of a story there. I would have cut it down and just said there was a Spanish teacher that used to teach kindergarten that everyone was taking advantage of, but I showed up to class. And then spend more time on the emotion. Just to see her light up, brighten her day, made me feel so happy, and focus on your emotion rather than the backstory of all the losers that didn't come to class and all like that. Summary was good, conclusion was good, and the tieback was just gave us an extra oomph when you went back to Robin Williams. I felt a lump in my throat. It was really very good. So you did a good job, except for going overtime. Thank you. Okay, that will bring us to Natalie. No, Lee Wee.
Lily.
Oh, Lily. Okay, sorry, Lily. Lilies of the field. Okay, Lily. Okay, Lily, let's see, what's our time looking like? Yeah, I'm wondering, okay, we're going to try to get you in on this battery, so let's think positive thoughts for this camera. Okay, she's managing communication, respect, funny, friendly, agent, say your name, feel the love, say speech. Oh, you're tall, aren't you? Ooh. Okay, rock and roll, Lily, and stay in the power stance. That's good.
Hi, everybody. My name is Lily.
Hi, Lily.
We all have an inner child inside of all of us. Sometimes you can forget about them because we have adult responsibilities, like going to work, to pay the rent, and all those kind of adult things. But our inner child is still there, and it stays with us throughout the years. Sometimes it can be tough to reach out and talk to that inner child, but it can also be easy if the language is right. Today, I want to share with you guys a series that has really deeply moved me and has spoken to my inner child. That series is called Steven Universe, and this show has made me happy, it's made me excited, and it's also made me heartbroken. I know you guys will really enjoy hearing about this series because it touches on a lot of very profound and universal themes, such as friends and family, finding courage in the face of danger, and love and compassion for others. The first way that this show moved me was that it made me very happy. The incident in this series that made me happy was the scene when Steven read a bunch of books that his friend Connie recommended to him. And then later, he had a play date with her and discussed the ending. This made me really happy because it brought me back to a time in my childhood where I was very into the fictional universe. I loved reading the Harry Potter series. I loved the Teen Titans series. I watched Naruto religiously. And so, but unfortunately, I had a group of friends that were just not into those kind of things and would not converse to me about them because they
just weren't interested. That's why it made me so happy when I saw Steven open himself up to Connie's interests, because that's the kind of connection that I wish I had had with my friends as well. The second way that this show has moved me is that it made me very excited. The scene that made me excited was when Steven performed his very first fusion dance. Now in this show, a fusion dance is a magical phenomena where two characters, they come together, they do a little dance, and then they fuse into one being with the best characteristics of both characters. Now this is a very difficult kind of operation, so Steven struggled a lot with it at first, but in the end he was able to do it when he was able to relax and just be himself. And this scene got me really excited because it brought me back to a time in high school where I was always stressed about grades. I felt that everybody else in my class would get good grades effortlessly except for me. And when that happened to me, it made me feel very inadequate. It made me feel that I couldn't do anything by myself. And that's why I was so excited when I saw Steven achieve his goal by relaxing and being carefree, because that's also what happened to me. Towards the end of my high school career, I was able to let go of focusing so much on grades and focus on having fun in the process of learning. And then good grades came in the aftermath. The third way that this show moved me was that it made me very heartbroken. The scene that made me heartbroken was a scene where Steven was talking about how he blamed himself for the death of his mom, and because she passed away while bringing him into the world. And this scene, it really broke my heart because it brought me back to a time in my childhood where I blamed myself for a lot of things that weren't necessarily my fault. For example, I blamed myself that my grandparents had to stay home every day and night to cook and clean the house so that I would be taken care of. And I blamed myself that my mom had to work so hard every day so that we could move into a nice neighborhood so I could attend a nice college or a nice high school. And when this happened to me, it made me feel very powerless, and it made me feel guilty for existing. So that's why it broke my heart when I heard Steven say that he blamed himself for the death of his mom, because I know that sometimes things happen to you that are just really not your fault. So in conclusion, I've told you guys about 3 ways that this show, Steven Universe, has moved me. It has made me very happy, it's excited me, and it's also broken my heart a little bit. And Steven Universe is a really great show. Even though it's technically a children's series, I still think it's a great show to watch because it touches on a lot of very powerful and profound things that I think are important for becoming a better human being. So in conclusion, we all have an inner child inside of all of us that unfortunately we sometimes dismiss due to adult things. But I feel that it's very important that sometimes we take the moment to look at the world as something that is magical and as something that can be explored, just like a child. And that is what Steven Universe has done for me.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Esmeralda.
Hi, Esmeralda.
I really like the way you articulated your words. I like how you are automatically connected to the audience by mentioning the inner child, and I also noticed that you look way more relaxed as you move 3 times.
More relaxed. What was the last part?
As you move several times.
Moved 3 times, yes.
Hi, Samara.
Hi, Zamora. Samara. Hi.
So, I really liked your speech. The only thing I could think of was that you didn't have class together a lot.
Yeah. Watch that tonight, you'll see. Well, you did not a film, but a series, I guess. And so that's you sort of like this one where this chemistry professor, what was that, Breaking Bad? Or something? Yeah, a lot of people wanted to do that because they could really relate to it. I don't know why. But anyway, so be it. You did a series, and you got the same effect. So let's talk about how well you did. You opened up with something called an inner child, and this was your theme, and you tied back to that, and I guess that was pretty much of a grabber to draw people in to have an intriguing idea to speak about. your three emotions were happy, excited, and heartbroken. And quick question. Ooh, I'm on red, so I'll make this fast. Did you think of jiggling those, or did they just come out that way?
Yeah, they kind of came out.
They came out that way. Okay, let me quickly talk because we're going to run out of tape in a second. On your happy, what was the time?
4:44.
4:44. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I thought that you remembering your childhood was a good way to reference that, and that worked. Excited. I like the way you talked about how you transformed through being so anxious about your grades, and you learned to relax, and the grades just came, and that was good. The heartbroken. Yeah, I think that a lot of kids blame themselves for things that a lot of divorced children say the dad left because of me, I was bad or something. It's crazy stuff. So I appreciate you sharing that. That was very personal, and that was interesting that you shared that with us. Your kanai was to manage your time better, which you did. Not to say and to move around while speaking. How did it go?
I definitely tried to move, consciously, so I think I moved, but I don't know how it looked. And I don't know. I can't think of when I said so I think maybe my fluency was a little bit better.
Okay. One comment I'd leave you with in our remaining seconds of tape is work on feeling the emotions a little deeper that you're felt sensing that you're bringing back from childhood, so that we can feel them deeper and exploring them more, so you get more of a grabber out of your emotions. Okay? Other than that, you did a very nice job. Thank you. Okay, I guess we're out of time. So we'll pick up on Thursday with the remaining A's and the B's. And remember, on Thursday I'm giving out the exam.
Hey, you know how I was going to international? Remember I gave you the chief's letter and I gave you the bucket national Dave, and I was like, what? I gave you yeah. So I summed them the city.
Yeah, okay, we're picking them up at the end.
Okay.
As we go along.
Okay, so
maybe in a few at the end of each time.
Okay, in that case, I just wanted more the TikTok thing that you were referring to. I'm assuming that happened last Tuesday.
Yeah, and half the people didn't watch it, so as a courtesy, I let them do a 2-page summary of the TED Talk.
Should I do that? Yeah. Okay, so where can I find that? So is it on the classical
TED Talk. It's on the web. It's on the syllabus.
Okay.
It's on the TED Talk.
And you just want a 2-page summary?
Yeah, of the first one I
Okay.
Still running. Stand back. Talk to me. Yeah, we'll get you on tape.
I missed last class. And I
What a tragedy. Still have a hat on, yeah.
I don't know if you want us to present it.
Yeah, we're going to get to that, so hang on to that. Is your study buddy still in the house?
He's still in class, yeah.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for timing. So how'd it go back there?
Pretty good. We ended up, Harvard ended up winning. It was we had to go up against Harvard, and unfortunately it was in the first round. So we were hoping to hit them later on, not in the first round.
Same thing happened to us. We lost to Harvard, Yale, and Stanford.
Yeah, we beat Stanford.
That was our draw.
We beat Stanford, but Harvard. It was a pretty close round. They were expected to steamroll us, but then we actually put up a good fight. So I'm pretty proud of that. And then
so was that E in there?
No, Ian can't compete anymore because they.
I know, but he could come along and kind of watch.
We had a lot of coaches come, so we didn't want. He did help out though before. While we were doing the preparations, he came back and he helped us with like various things and stuff like that.
Good.
But yeah, it was fun. Good experience. I didn't know Cincinnati. I didn't know anything about Cincinnati or Ohio or that area, but it was fun to. I think you're looking for this.
Yeah, I'm looking for that. God, I really had to go back today. You don't know anything about Cincinnati, and you don't want to know anything more about it, right?
I know the chili was good. If you ever visit there, eat some of the chili.
Yeah, I dated a girl from a suburb there called Shaker Heights. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
No, I haven't.
Yes, it's outside of Cleveland. But, the Midwest is, I come from the Midwest, but it was
just a huge enigma to me as well.
It's a whole trip.
Right, it is. I was wondering, do you remember last time we were talking about the whole, with the A to A+ thing, and I know you...
Yeah, you're dreaming, yeah.
Well, I know you said there was no chance that for the 103 side script, the final one. Is this evidence of how annoying I am?
This is going to be on YouTube.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering
So I should